Actually, I should probably just start it from like the starting soon and then go back to the.
With a counter
All
that's
right, here we
going
go.
up.
I know. All right, here we go. All right, welcome everybody to the Untitled Esports Show, the show where we tell you all about what's going on in the wide, wide world of esports. My name is gootecks, and I'm joined today. I swear to God, this time I'm getting it right. I got my two favorite esports veterans. I got Zorine over here, and I got
Yeah.
Slasher over here. Guys, thanks for joining us again. Sorry for the technical difficulties. 120% my fault.
120%.
More than your fault is what you're saying.
Totally my fault. Not to mention this aging computer that is no longer esports, ready.
Now, Ryan, you know me a long time. You're not supposed to take the blame. You're supposed to say, fuck Slasher. It's all his goddamn fault. He fucking ruined the whole show. That is how you're supposed to take this as a host in the esports world.
Look, I'm not esports enough to give you all that satisfaction and burn all at once. It's not your fault, Slasher.
No, it definitely is.
It's definitely this aging computer. Anyways, there is a lot. Yeah, this is much better now. There was a lot of stuff that started happening, I guess, today. Lots of big news in the esports world. You guys were giving me the heads up on what was going on, and there was some controversy within the controversy. So,
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment here in esports world, esports planet. What do we call it? Esportstopia.
God, I don't even know if that's a way to call it, but sure. Let's go with that. Esportstopia. You heard it here first, everyone.
Ryan, you made a whole fucking t-shirt. You should know what to call it. What do you mean? Isn't this the anti-esports club? Universe that we're in?
Yes. You know what? I do like that.
I mean, come on. You're always on that merch game. You're always telling me about how you want to be branding Mr. PogChamp. Okay, we are in the anti-esports universe.
Right
Very
now.
Similar
to the WWE universe, because lots of drama happens, including some of the drama that went live today. Bloomberg is reporting that Activision planned to cut hundreds of jobs after a weak earnings report. This was reported last week, and then Kotaku coming in confirming Activision Blizzard lays off hundreds of employees in some of them in esports, some of them in other departments, but out of the roughly 9,600 employees, about 800 people are now out of work.
Yes, they were cut similar to how the words in the article was cut on this overlay here, but it was it's
that one was definitely Slasher's fault.
Yeah, I mean, like, as someone who's been part of a very high profile layoff myself, you know, shout outs to Yahoo Esports.
Shout outs Yahoo.
I mean, if you haven't gotten laid off in esports, have you really worked in it?
Oh my god. That's the anti-esports philosophy I expect to hear from you, Ryan.
We're gonna put that on the 10 esports commandments.
Oh my gosh. Should be the very first one.
Thou shalt never feel like thou hath job security.
Oh, damn. It's an esports world. We're all just living in it. Yeah, I mean, obviously the news hits very hard. It sucks. And I think adjacent to that, people also said that the CFO took like a $15 million signing bonus, which is, at the same time.
Recently?
Yeah, recently.
Yeah. Early January.
And
he
they
took
had
the signing bonus 1 week before the layoffs were announced. Or supposed to be announced.
Oh my god, that is so grimy.
And well, you haven't even heard the whole of like the griminess. So in addition to that, Activision had their earnings call today, in which they reported their most profitable year ever in 2018. If I'm correct, Slasher, you probably know more about this.
Yep.
So 2018 was their most profitable year ever, but they feel like they could have, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here from memory, but I think they said something along the lines of they feel like they could have been even more profitable had they been, I guess, different about the way they approached their hiring and, budget cuts and stuff. And I guess part of that was the layoffs that happened today.
I mean, this entire story is, kind of unbelievable on a lot of ways. Richard Lewis, who many people know within esports, even though he's a host, he has been reporting on this story of Activision Blizzard expecting job cuts several months beforehand, along with Jason Schreier of Kotaku, who's been on top of this story quite heavily. So along with the Bloomberg report from last week, we knew this was going to be happening many months ago with the way that Activision is now controlling Blizzard, and reports of, I've had my own sources saying that morale has been lower than ever within the company right now. This is months ago, leading up to now, based on everything that was happening, based on already the rumors people were going to get fired. So things were already bad within the company for several months leading up to where it is now. Overwatch League specifically has gone through budget cuts after season 1, with the lead observer and Alchemist being let go, the entire observer team, many people on the production side, some of the talent itself, people that work behind the scenes, people that worked at the venue. They switched venues itself. They're no longer renting out the entire venue for Overwatch League. So things were already happening prior to this news. And then now, within the last 3 weeks, they lose their CFO to Netflix, I believe, which happened, I think, early on in January. And then they give $15 million in a signing bonus and stock options to the new CFO. And then no less than 2 weeks later do we have a Bloomberg report saying that hundreds of employees are going to be affected. And then it ends up actually worse. It ends up being worse than previously reported. And 800 people are now fired from Activision Blizzard. Somehow, not only is all of this really bad, they make it even fucking worse, which I didn't think was possible going into as I was explaining this whole scenario. But the opening statement from Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick on the earnings call today was, "We once again have achieved record results in 2018. Like, how tone deaf can you be to the current situation of your company firing hundreds of employees and then to start the earnings call with saying that we've made more money than we ever have before? It is completely ridiculous the way that they've gone about this. They should not be making more money than they ever have before and then letting go almost 10% of their workforce.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullshit. It's fucking totally bullshit. It's capitalism at its finest in America.
I wonder if like a lot of it is Activision kind of like they're used to being the big bad of the games industry to the point where they're like, they just embrace it now. They don't care because they keep on making money even though their reputation is like, down the shitter. So, and like so many people hate them, but at the same time, people continue to buy their games and drive up profits. So at the end of the day, a bad PR story like this isn't going to affect their margin, sadly.
I'm pretty sure shares are up.
I'm
pretty sure that Activision stock went up after hours. Yeah, they're up 3.9%, over almost 2 points. So I think they've hit like a stock high within the last no, they're down. They're quite, no, they're actually way down. But they're the highest they've ever been in at least a few weeks or so. So the investors thought this was a good thing, that they were shedding all of this weight that was holding them down from making even more money that they should have been making. And I'm not saying that Activision Blizzard hasn't made a lot of mistakes, as I have covered quite extensively myself, whether it's Overwatch League or the way that they've handled other games like Heroes of the Storm, which they've had to pull the rug out under several months ago. But for investors to be clamoring around hundreds of people being fired just so they could, edge out a little bit more money out of the company, and that's why the stocks are going up. What the fuck is wrong with everyone in this goddamn country that we are now like cheering that they have, reduced the amount of like operating budget that they have over there to gain more money off of a record year already? It's kind of ridiculous for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a good look, and you really have to wonder, like, well, even though the people that they laid off must have saved them significant money, I'm sure there was lots of value that all these people provided, intangible value to the entire operation, and it just seems like that's all just been sacrificed just for the sake of even higher profits. I mean, I didn't look at the numbers because, this is not that kind of show, but it's really unfortunate. And, one has to wonder, like, where does this really put, the esports side of this, which is, namely Overwatch League. I mean, until, Call of Duty starts doing stuff big like that. But do you guys think that that Overwatch League was like a drop in the bucket compared to this? Was this like a big factor? I mean, did signing that big Twitch gazillion-dollar deal last year, like, that helped, but maybe it didn't matter? What do you guys think?
I mean, I was kind of like, I'm kind of torn on that because I do wonder like where the money went in the end. So, we have the Overwatch League licensing deals, which obviously they made a lot of money off of. And then we have all the franchising fees that the teams paid and raised money for to buy their spots in Overwatch League. Overwatch League expanded to like 20 teams this year, correct me if I'm wrong. But, each of those spots was, they weren't cheap. And some of them were reportedly going for as high as 20 million per spot. So it does make you wonder, like, I know it's not as simple as money going in and then money coming out. Like, Activision's a big company. Blizzard's just a part of it. There's like a lot of different divisions. But it does make you wonder, like why, why did this have to happen right after they announced that it's their most successful year ever in 2018? It's just crazy. And you mentioned the Call of Duty World League. Like, that is, rumored and I think pretty much known at this point, set to be a franchise league as well this year.
Yeah, they confirmed that on
there call. You go. So they're going to be taking even more money in from that league itself as well. So they're kind of like on the up and up here, like as like a trajectory, like they're going up. So it just makes me wonder, like, why all the cost cutting? And I don't know, like, I feel like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we may not be seeing. Maybe it's like a whole, Activision's a very old company. There's like a lot of old practices in place. Maybe they wanted to kind of, turn over a new leaf. I don't know. I guess at this point I'm just speculating.
I mean, we've already heard reports either from myself or another journalist that, as I mentioned earlier, morale has been quite low within the company. It's not surprising that all of this is coming after Mike Morhaime, the CEO of Blizzard, and like the driving force behind the culture over there, and a lot of the people that were hired left the company. And, from people that I've spoken to, he was just done. He's been there for like 20 years. He's built, Blizzard to where it is now. But I think it was, pretty indicative that you had Mike Morhaime, the legend. When you think of Blizzard, you really do think of him. Yeah, you think of the games and all the legendary franchises, but you think of him building that company to where it is now. So there's no more Metzen, there's no more Morhaime, and they've now lost several key executives. This is before any of this news came out. And I think you could take all of that happened before to really showcase what it's like inside of that company right now. I mean, they mentioned on the call that 2019 is a transition year for them and that they will be doing things different. And I understand that Activision Blizzard wasn't really running on all cylinders, whether it's the morale issues, Diablo mobile fiasco, the way that they've handled Overwatch, the way that Heroes of the Storm has died. Like, you could point to a lot of different things that are going wrong within that company right now. And at the same time, I have to admit, within the earnings call, they did say that they would be hiring 20% more people for development teams specifically. So if you are a programmer or if you are an artist or you work directly on the development team, they will be hiring 20% more people. And everyone that they cut was from esports or broadcasting or licensing or marketing or promotion. It's something that is not directly related to development work for the game. So, I mean, part of that admittedly is reasonable. I do think to you have to slash some of your company to be able to hire more development resources, which are, honestly, that's probably the main critique that I've had and many others on their games. It's not necessarily the marketing of the game. I think like the Overwatch League sales team, as we'll talk about a little bit later with the Coca-Cola sponsorship, has done really quite well for itself. The problems with the game are the game and the development on the game. And that, I think, translates to a lot of the titles that Activision Blizzard has. So I am slightly, very tiny bit sympathetic to how they're doing. At the same time, no, I don't think they should have fired as many people as they did on the year that they did. I feel like Mike Morhaime, if he was still running things at Blizzard, would have maybe helped intervene with Bobby Kotick and taken a hit on the stock price and kept more employees so that he would not have affected as many jobs. Yeah, the stock might have not gone up if they only cut like 400 jobs or whatever after this from investors, but at least they would have had more connection with their employees, their people, which is what's most important for a development studio.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really difficult to see, your colleagues and people you worked with, for a long time just not be there anymore, and then just be expected to be like, all right, guys, like, let's get ready for Overwatch League day after tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, their season is just about to kick off like this week, so right. I do wonder about how that team is going to go, like, handle all of that happening given the recent happenings. So.
Well, the good news is that for them is that Activision Blizzard signs Coca-Cola as official non-alcoholic beverage for Overwatch League. So the Esports Observer is reporting. Oh man, this thing is messed up. Oops.
No, we can see it.
Okay. Well, take my word for it. It's from the Esports Observer. They are reporting that they've signed an exclusive deal that started as just sponsoring Overwatch League, but then, according to Blizzard esports CRO Brandon Snow, quote, when we showed them the data points of how the people who play Overwatch are also fan of the esports, what we're doing at the league level, their perspective, Coca-Cola's perspective, became, quote, if we really want to do this the right way, then let's be a partner of the entire ecosystem, which means that Coke products are going to be served at the Overwatch events. And details of this are coming later, I guess, based on the amount of money that they signed the Twitch, the Twitch broadcasting rights. I mean, to me, this sounds like a multi-million-dollar deal that's, whatever, multiple years. And I guess just adds to the bottom line for the Activision, investors to celebrate.
Look, yeah. There's two things that have to be noted here. Bobby Kotick, the same person who's the CEO of Activision Blizzard, the one that made the earnings call today, is on the fucking board of Coca-Cola. Okay.
Sweet hookup, bro.
So this is pretty much a sweetheart deal between his buddies who literally run the company at Coke and Overwatch League, which is Bobby Kotick's, basically his baby within the company. I mean, I think there's no conspiracy here on how this deal got done. Secondly, as I mentioned before, the Activision Blizzard sales team and the marketing team, I actually think has done an incredible job considering Overwatch the game has in like a rough state right now. It's facing competition from like literally every other game on the planet, whether it's Fortnite or Apex Legends, and they've still been able to sell franchise spots for like $25 million and bring Coca-Cola on as a title sponsor. So I think, yeah, the sales team within Activision Blizzard should be applauded for actually the good work that they've been done. But when I tweeted this news out, there were many industry esports people who were skeptical of this deal, and they think that Activision Blizzard is going to burn Coca-Cola off of not getting enough return on investment on the Overwatch League sponsorship.
Wait, how are they gonna? Wait, what do you mean they're gonna burn them?
They don't think that Overwatch League is going to bring in the numbers that Coca-Cola is going to want, and that they're actually going to push Coca-Cola out based on not getting enough numbers for Overwatch League. I've had several industry people tell me that. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but it is something to consider. I definitely think.
That's interesting because I feel like that almost ties into what I've heard, and this is just rumors, that several like teams are unhappy with the amount of return they're getting on what they've invested into buying spots in the Overwatch League. So, if you spent, 10 to 15 million on a spot in the franchise, and you look at the first year of Overwatch League and you're looking at like the numbers it did, the viewership, the audience, and what kind of, attention and traction you got from your team at the end, I would almost it doesn't surprise me that there are people unhappy with what they're getting in response to that. But also what you're saying about, Coke as well, Rod, is interesting because I wonder if, how did the sales people, I just am curious how they sold this to Coke, because they can show that, hey, Overwatch Finals peaked at what, 360K concurrence? That is worth X million dollars. I just don't understand how that translates.
Well, I'm just going to guess, and I want to hear what Ryan thinks. I actually don't believe, from what I understand, that Activision Blizzard is really using concurrent viewers for the metrics and the way that they're selling sponsorships. The Overwatch League actually had pretty good viewership if you added up of total hours watched and total viewership for the league. And I'm going to guess they probably went in that route because those were their better numbers. I also think that Blizzard is trying to push whatever better numbers that Overwatch League has as the industry standard for the way that they sell sponsorships.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you have to think about it, right? The types of entities that are involved in purchasing a $15 to $25 million spot as a franchise in Overwatch League clearly have a lot of money to work with. I don't think that it solely comes down to viewership, because my understanding of the way that the Overwatch League deals were working is that they're also getting some cut, franchises are selling merchandise, ticket sales, they can sell their own sponsorships, so I don't think it just comes down to viewership, but I would imagine that there would be some questions or some rumblings about when they can really start to see some ROI. I don't think that anybody really expected it to come in the first year, but I don't know, maybe different teams had different expectations. But if you're going to drop $25 million on a franchise, you should know that it's probably going to take quite some time, multiple years, in order to make it back. But, and this is just pure speculation, but maybe that's how low the actual earnings really were this year for some of these franchise teams, where they knew, okay, going in, all right, this is going to take us 5-7 years to really start to make it work. But maybe what they got this first year was so abysmal, they were like, oh fuck, what are we going to do?
That's crazy to me that they can imagine a game has a lifespan of 5 to 7 years. I get that we have games that are like that right now. Counter-Strike's been going on forever. League of Legends is hitting its 7th year? I can't even remember now, but it's been around for a while and the viewership is still strong. But it still, I feel, is very gutsy to think ahead that far and believe that a game can have that kind of longevity, especially we're seeing it now with games like Fortnite and Apex Legends, where the landscape moves so fast and changes so quickly. Fortnite, what happened to Fortnite is what happened to PUBG, right? In the past. So now Apex Legends is the new hot thing.
Ooh, How does it feel, Fortnite?
Within Blizzard's earnings call, they did say, because
can you move your mic back just a little bit?
Is this good?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So Blizzard did say in their earnings call that they have a lot of new ideas for Overwatch, and that the Overwatch is just a small part of the overall franchise. Now, they didn't give concrete details on whatever that may mean.
Oh, you know what that means, Rod.
I've had people speculate a movie. I've had people speculate a Netflix show to me. I've had people speculate a Battle Royale version.
Jesus.
And I've even had one very reputable person in the industry tell me Overwatch 2. They told me Overwatch 2. Now, I really do not believe that is happening.
What a scoop.
No, because that seems totally ridiculous to me.
That is,
I haven't heard that. I really do not think that is happening. And if Overwatch 2 comes out, I'll shave my head on this freaking show.
Like ever? Or you mean like within a certain time span?
Within the next, I don't know, 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. 2 years is so
silly.
safe. No, that's so
Dude,
safe.
if there's already someone speculating that like it could come soon, then 2 years seems like a long fucking time, Zorine. Does it not?
Well,
does it not?
No, I feel like 2 years is very soon. I would say like...
Dude, this show won't even go like longer than 6 months. 2 years is like a long fucking time, all right?
It's an eternity in esports.
Yeah, like they just sold so many spots. They expanded Overwatch League. It doesn't make sense for them to come out with a new game so soon. Like it just maybe that's Activision doing the Call of Duty thing. Like you know how they cycle through those games very very quickly, even though they're about to launch an esports league that's like franchised for it. But you know, like I don't know, but I just feel like 2 years is very safe of you to call, Rod.
I don't see Overwatch 2 happening ever. Okay, I think a TV show, a movie, fucking bobbleheads, fucking a battle royale mode, all of those things are more likely to happen than Overwatch 2. But I do think that Activision Blizzard, seeing how everything else is going, I don't necessarily know they can make Overwatch a battle royale. I don't even know if that is like a thing that could work. Honestly, as someone who plays the game at a very high level, I don't actually think it can work just based on the gameplay. But they're going to try to do whatever they can to make more money out of this game.
Well, they're going to be, you know, they have to bend to the will of the investors, and I'm curious why could it not be? Why could they not make a battle royale game out of it?
It is very hard, at least for me, to make a battle royale game out of a game with heroes. Realm Royale actually did a pretty good job of doing it out of paladins. And Apex Legends actually does have individual characters with abilities and ultimates and everything. So maybe it isn't.
You're just eating your words as you speak.
All I had to do was ask why not.
It just feels, but as someone who plays the game a lot, it just feels like it's going to be way harder for Blizzard to turn it into a battle royale game than it took Hi-Rez to make Paladins into Realm Royale, or that Respawn made Apex Legends. Just in terms of the way the characters like interact with each other and them having to make like a gigantic map. I think it's possible. I just think it's going to be way harder for them than everyone else has had.
Here's the thing, Rod. Maybe it was hard for them yesterday, but today they have 8% less people on the workforce, which means they can fill that gap with developers to help make your battle royale dreams come true.
You know what? Maybe, honestly.
This was the plan all along, Rod. You see? They got rid of they laid off a bunch of people specifically so that they could prove Slasher wrong and they could make a battle royale game. God damn it! I don't understand why they couldn't just take the characters, not necessarily. I don't mean like the characters as in the models and the voices, but like take the characters as intellectual property and put them into any type of genre game that they want, whether it was, the current Overwatch, format, or Battle Royale, or even maybe a fighting game because there's the Overwatch arcade game that's like in there in one of the stages, right? So if they were going to expand on
Slasher.
Overwatch, then couldn't they just take the characters and do
Ryan, they're trying to make money, not lose money, okay? I don't know if they want to do a fighting game.
Also,
they're trying to get better.
They did this thing called Heroes of the Storm where they took all their characters from their popular IPs and put them all into a MOBA, which was the hot genre at the time.
True.
And they even did things like make it more friendly for casual players. They scaled like a couple of things in the game, made the gameplay simpler. And for some reason, it just didn't work out.
Well, I also think part of the issue with Heroes of the Storm is that they were like basically like last to market, right?
Yeah, no, they fucked up. Blizzard had Dota literally made within their game. They didn't give a shit about it. That dude went to go make Heroes of Newerth. Then that made Riot make League of Legends. And then that guy went to Valve to go make Dota 2. And then Blizzard was like, oh, well, I guess we should make the same game now.
Right.
This is a good idea.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Right. I mean, so just because, I don't know, just because it didn't particularly work with Heroes of the Storm, that doesn't mean that they didn't learn a lot from that experience that could be applied to, future Overwatch League universe games. Because, really, that seems to be what Blizzard is really good at, right? Is just let's take the characters in our world and then apply it to a genre that we're not currently doing. And they're not doing Battle Royale. And
well, Blizzard is not doing Battle Royale, but Call of Duty's Battle Royale.
I'm just talking about Blizzard when it really, because you made me think when you were saying that, Blizzard is expanding on Overwatch League in ways we can't even imagine.
No, not Overwatch League, right? It was just Overwatch.
Yeah,
right. Sorry, expanding on Overwatch in ways we can't even imagine. All right.
Now, before we go off this topic, I will say the last thing that I saw a lot of people clamoring for this afternoon after the layoffs were announced and all this news is that the game industry should unionize. Whether this is game developers and people that work for companies or the journalists, the media and the game development under the two industries that I see people asking for unionization the most. And although Blizzard does say in their press release that they would be giving out severance packages to employees that were laid off today, I do think it would be like this is a very good time and moment for the game industry as a whole, I think, to seriously consider this as an option that could happen. I think it's going to be really fucking hard to make unionization happen across the entire game industry. But if there were ever like a major developer or company to like make something happen, this would be that moment to have something start up.
What? I don't have I don't know very much about like the pros and cons of unions in when it comes to this stuff. What would that solve?
Zorine can mention this, but from things that I usually see the most in terms of the journalism side that I've seen, because like BuzzFeed News announced their union literally like a few hours ago. For example, it is required severance and the amount of weeks of severance that you get, how much money that you're getting in the severance, paid time off, including what is it called when you have like a kid and you
maternity leave?
Yeah, maternity leave and paternity leave, both like that you get a required amount of time that you can take off, and that they would give you notice beforehand of when things were happening. So unions can protect the workers with a solid amount of leeway if something goes down, where you get a good amount of money, you get some time beforehand so you know what's going to happen, and you get like health benefits and other things that you would expect to get in like a corporate type of job.
Mm-hmm. Basically to protect employees in situations like this where the worst could happen, especially in, you know, a state like California or countries like America, where people often live paycheck to paycheck and, you know, have to pay very expensive costs of living. So I think in a case like for the games industry, especially, unions could be very advantageous. I am not an expert on this by any means either, like Ryan. So, but from, you know, the things that I've seen and read, it seems like it could only be a good thing.
Well, just to, just to play devil's advocate, if you're unionized, then you're paying union dues, which is going to be a portion of your paycheck. And based on Activision, you know, based on their behavior when it comes to profits and investors and everything, I mean, where do you guys really think that extra, you know, like, if they have to pay, I guess that doesn't make sense. If the money is just taken out of your paycheck and goes to the unions, then I guess the company's paying you the same amount. Okay, all right, never mind.
I mean, unions generally have done more good than bad for a lot of the workforce in America. And America, if anything, has one of the weakest employee worker workforces in the world. Like Europe's workforces, they get paternity leave, 12 months off, paternity leave or whatever, whenever they want. They can never be fired for it. They can never be sued for it. They get full paid time, all this stuff. And America just kind of takes that shit because that's our culture here.
Right. Okay. That's what I was going to say. At some point, you know, let's say having to provide all these benefits, that's coming from let's say in this instance, Activision, it's coming from their side, right? So if they're having to pay out more money because, you know, the whole industry decided to unionize, that money's going to come from somewhere. And I don't think it's going to come out of, you know, Activision's pockets. It's going to come out of the pockets of the people playing the games. So, but I don't know. Who knows? It's just one school of thought.
Yeah, and it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. There were, I guess there was, we could talk about the Twitch stuff. So it's been a big day.
Okay.
I don't have a source unless you want me to link to your Twitter or something, Rod.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, no, you have.
No, I don't.
Literally this. It's in the doc. What do you mean you don't?
Rod's Twitter is his publication. That is your source.
No, it's not even what I'm talking about. It's literally
it's
literally right here in the doc for you.
Are you talking about the one that I linked?
I see it.
Yeah, the one that's highlighted right now.
There we go.
There you go. There's the one. Oh, it's kind of cut off.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna do that again. There we go. Okay. So, Twitch has laid off their former PR director, a gentleman by the name of Chase.
Now former PR director.
Right, that's what I said.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's what I said. Hi all, I saw the news that I was leaving Twitch, made it to Twitter before I did. Yes, it's true. It's been a thrilling 8 years at a great place to work with an awesome community to serve. Thanks for all the positive tweets. I plan to stick around the gaming scene, so catch up soon. For clarity, when I said it made it to Twitter before I did, I just meant that I didn't get to socialize it first. Not that it was news to me. Oh, okay. All right. I get it. Okay. So Twitch has laid off their PR director, and Slasher had something to say about it.
Okay, so there are two aspects to this thing. One is that I reported this news happening before Chase did, and I told people that Twitch was letting him go, and along with that, 47 Communications, which is a PR company within the video game space, will be taking over a good portion of Twitch's PR.
That's wild.
I also said some good things about Chase because I've known him for his entire time while at Justin TV and Twitch. I mean, I remember when he was hired originally at Justin TV and then switched over to Twitch. So I've known him for a long time, and I have generally good impressions of him. I've had, a pretty solid time. I mean, out of all the PR people that I dealt with at all the different companies, he was probably one of the most helpful in terms of like getting stuff back to me when I requested it. And now that itself has led to some issues and drama and people responding back to me who are not so happy, including Chase himself, which we can get into because I know Zorine has some opinions on this. And then we could talk about like why we think Twitch actually let Chase go if we think, and I don't have a specific reason for this, but if we could maybe speculate on why this happened or if it's part of like Twitch's, just the way that things are going about it now. But I will say out of the 20 original employees that Twitch, the company, started with from Justin TV, only 5 people remain. Emmett Smith, which is the CEO of Twitch, Kevin Lin, the COO of Twitch, DJ Wheat, who is the head of Twitch Studios, and then 2 other people, I think John Howell, and then one other person whose name I am forgetting. Those are the only 5 people remaining of the original Twitch employees when the company started.
I think Kevin Lin actually left Twitch a while ago. He exited his role as CEO.
He's not COO anymore, but he's still
there. Okay. All right. I am corrected. Yeah, I mean, like, as Rod mentioned, I have opinions on this. Full disclosure, I've worked with Chase before and, have known him quite a while. He used to work at a PR agency and Twitch was their client, and then Twitch actually ended up hiring him and brought him on as their PR person, and then he was their former director. But my question to you, Rod, is like, why did you have to break that news? Like, why even tweet it in the first place before Chase had a chance to announce it himself?
For me, his position is high enough at that company that it has direct relation to the industry that we live in. If you are an executive or a director position at a company within the space, whether it is Activision Blizzard, Riot, Twitch, MLG, ESL, whatever, I understand that there are people involved and that there are families involved and there are real lives involved in these situations when, a journalist reports on something that is not publicly available, and that, I do have to be weary of, that situation and the understanding that there are lives that are being affected here. But for me, he is not a lowly employee. He is not low on the chain. He is an original member of the Twitch company. He is a director in his position, and nearly the entire industry has had contact with him or deals with him on a daily or weekly basis, whether you are a journalist or a streamer or someone who is working with Twitch in some official capacity. So yes. I understand that he wanted to get out his own statement in the way that he felt like it, but so does every other employee that is let go or leaves a company under certain circumstances. And if you are a high-profile employee of a major tech company, especially, you are now subject to public. You have now reached a level of public scrutiny and public. You're not. I don't see Chase as just like another employee on the rung of people that are there. He reached a title and importance that I believe is of public, for the public importance, which is why I did what I did.
You're saying you are the person to make that judgment call on who is important enough or not important enough to break news on. Like, I feel like in addition to that, like Twitch's role as a PR person was not very public facing. It was more like that kind of news is more B2B. That's something that the people who work in the industry would care about. Yes, like you said, but I feel like he wasn't very public facing. Even the Reddit thread, that kind of pulled it into question. The top most voted comment was people saying oh, Twitch has a PR director. So I don't feel like that justifies that you having to break that news a couple of hours before he even had a chance to announce it himself.
I mean, if I was working for a B2B publication, would that make a difference? My audience is not just consumers and fans of the industry. I have just about every B2B person that works or is involved in some way in the industry under my following. For me, it is very much within my purview of what I will and want to report on. It doesn't matter to me that he didn't have a public-facing image towards the larger community. He had a public-facing image in terms of his title and his role at the company, and I'm sure he was compensated for that. And in terms of the way that he is known throughout the industry. And for me, my followers and my audience is not just consumers. It is very much the industry that I work in. So I did not feel that it is not applicable. No.
Did you reach out to him first for a quote or for how he felt about this before you
messaged
posted?
him.
And you gave him an hour to reply back? I'm sure he was busy clearing out his desk or something.
I mean, I heard this last night, by the way. I had already 2 sources that told me last night. The reason that I was prompted today is because, and I did not include this, he sent out a personal email to dozens of journalists, which I was not one of, to tell them of what had happened. It's not like he only told within his company. He sent out an email to half the working industry that had been working with him. So no, I felt at that point that it was 100% within my rights to report on that. And I feel, I'm not trying to hurt his image or his life. And I've said pretty positive things about him in my interactions with him. Were generally all positive, and I gave him a pretty glowing time of how I have dealt with him. I will say some of the biggest detractors of my reporting are former Twitch employees who were also similarly upset that I reported on them getting let go in the Twitch firings last May. And I will say those people had high enough positions within the company that I believe they are now within the public for reporting under scrutiny. Yes, I believe that these people are high enough on the rung that they are now they are worthy of reporting on. And they do not get to dictate what I find out beforehand and report to my audience. I mean, they could very much well keep it hidden or have the company that they worked for not be able to leak it out to me so that I would know every single time this happens. I think I would suggest maybe they work on that before coming at me being all pissed off about it.
I mean, as someone who's also reported, on news that is not favorable to multiple parties as well, yes, that is true. It is not, your job to stop leaks for other parties, but I mean, this is a very sensitive topic as well. And maybe Chase, I didn't know that Chase had sent out an email to journalists informing them beforehand, of what had happened. They could have written the stories as well. So that kind of changes things. But I'm curious to know, Ryan, what you think about it.
It's a really sensitive thing. I mean, we just talked about 800, however many people got laid off over at Activision. We cited Kotaku and Bloomberg for that stuff. To me, there's not that much of a difference between reporting one layoff and reporting hundreds. I guess, if we're in America and we're thinking about freedom of the press and free speech and everything, essentially Rod can do whatever the fuck he wants, and what are we gonna do? Could it have been handled better? I mean, could Rod have said, oh, I got, he sent out these emails to other people in the industry last night, therefore that makes it fair game? Yeah. I don't know. It's a touchy subject. I guess the real thing is like, what real importance? I mean, again, I never had any interactions with Chase, so I don't know. But I mean, is it that big of a deal if he gets let go? I mean, is Rod's Twitter just like the layoff, like, news feed?
Oh God, how depressing.
I mean, for me, I don't just see my audience as consumers. I really do see my audience as pretty much the entire industry. I pretty much have almost everyone that works for every company or is a player or a streamer or in some way connected to the industry. And for me, that is my audience, not just like the consumer side, which I think this is more Activision Blizzard, the layoffs of the developers is more for consumers and some investors. The Chase being let go is more for the B2B sector, which Zorine says, and that is a fair point. I just don't feel like there's any difference between my audience. I appeal to both sectors, and that's why I think I'm actually like pretty successful at this type of stuff, because I can reach a wide variety of people in the way that I report things. So I understand that Chase is an individual person, and the reporting on an individual person is much different than reporting on like $1 billion company like Activision Blizzard. But if I had known specifically high-level people within Activision Blizzard that were being let go, whether it was executives or directors within their different job fields, I would have also named them specifically in my report. I mean, look, for me, when I joined ESPN and when I was let go from ESPN, people reported that before I did. I was not the person to announce that I was joining ESPN. I was also not the person to report that I was being let go from ESPN. And I didn't fucking cry on Twitter because another journalist or someone found out about this and said that this is happening. Like, this is my life. And yeah, like, I have to go through my own shit in my life, but I'm not putting it on this other person who's just doing their job or just doing their work affecting me. Like, it's not their responsibility for me to fix my own life and for me to like do whatever I need to do or whatever's going on. They're just doing their thing. So I have no ill will towards anyone that reports on me and what I do. And if they find out a company that I'm joining, which is kind of soon, if they find out like what I'm joining, please leak it and report it. The thing is, you probably won't find out. They only found out about ESPN one day before the announcement, because as a journalist, I know how to keep a fucking secret so that other journalists aren't finding out information that I don't want them finding out. Yeah. But if you do find out something that is public, I believe I am now a public person. Like, I don't think I'm hot shit or anything, but I think I built up like enough of a a title or like a reputation within the industry that I am considered someone that you can report on, whether I'm joining this or leaving this or doing this or whatever. And I'm not going to get angry or upset at you if you get to say it before I do.
All right. Well, all I heard was when somebody's got the dirt on Rod getting hired or fired, you DM good old gootecks, and then I'll yes. break the story.
Please give it to gootecks. You say I'm getting hired or fired somewhere, please give that shit to gootecks.
Yeah, let me break
and he will leak it on the show. Yeah. On this show.
And then we'll see how Slasher feels about it.
Just because you're cool about it doesn't mean that everyone else has to be.
No, and they don't have to be cool, and they can continue to blast me on social media, and I will continue to defend myself and believe that I am right, which I do think I am. And I can handle the criticism. Again, I'm not going to cry about the criticism given to me on Twitter either. I'm not a little bitch. I can handle it. It's okay. I still feel okay with what I did. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Now, the second part of this, which was the actual story, do either of you believe that Chase was let go due to anything specific, such as, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, bans of, partners and on the platform for different reasons, or any other particular reason that you think Twitch may have had? The other example that I'm thinking the most of is the Ninja Red Bull ads and the Pokimane ads that pissed off a good number of the Twitch community. Do either of you think it's related at all?
Potentially. I mean, because that was bad PR. Let's be real. All the stuff that happened, the marketing, whoever made the marketing call for that, probably not great either. And I do know that the PR team at Twitch is small. Like, it wasn't just Chase. Erin was part of the team as well. So I don't know if she's still there either. But, I mean, it's hard to say, right? There have been layoffs happening at Twitch, like, left and right ever since Amazon acquired the company. So at this point, it's really hard to pinpoint what could have possibly led up to this. Could have been a multiple number of things that happened, including, the Pokimane and the Ninja ads that kind of went down badly, and a whole bunch of bad PR for Twitch happening. I would say 50-50. I think it's like 50-50 Amazon overlords coming in, and like also, a mixture of these results that are happening.
Yeah. Part of me... Oh, okay, so did the entire PR department get let go?
No, he is just him. He is the head of PR. And now 47 Communications, which is an entire agency, will be added on to Twitch. Well, they didn't buy him out. They're just going to be utilizing them.
Right. And where, like, Ryan, you should be super familiar with 47. They handle Bandai Namco here, who, of course, does Tekken, Dragon Ball, and...
Yeah, they used to handle Capcom. I don't know if they still do, but they did at one point.
I don't think they do anymore.
Yeah, well, they got bigger Amazon fish to fry now. The PR element of it is interesting because, there have been so many blow-ups recently, Red Bull, Ninja, Pokimane, the inconsistent banning, all these things. One has to wonder, what was going on. I mean, if the head of the PR, if the director of PR is doing their job, then shouldn't these things not really happen so much?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, after I think personally, it's probably more the Ninja and Pokemon ads more than the streamers being banned for no reason, or for being banned for arbitrary reasons. Like, the PR disaster after Ninja should have been handled after Ninja, and then it happened again with Pokemon, and that seems like a big miss. And then you add on like several different partnered streamers being banned for all different types of reasons, and Twitch has been getting hit like in the PR department like almost every day.
Yeah, I mean, so now they have an agency that is well versed in the industry, that should be able to keep them out of these PR headaches, and if they don't, then they should be easy to replace with another PR agency. So I guess my prediction. Okay, how many people do you guys think are in the PR department at Twitch now, minus Chase?
2.
Yeah, I'm gonna also guess 2.
Right. So my prediction is those 2 remaining people will be reassigned or let go, or one of them will be reassigned and one will be kept on as the liaison between Twitch and 47. But, maybe it was just one of those things that there were so many PR issues and blow-ups that were happening that it was just too much for a small team. They had to bring in a whole agency.
I mean, Twitch is a gigantic company now. I don't think it's entirely out of whack for what they're doing.
Yeah. But I mean, I do think that it was probably not one thing. It was probably a little bit of a lot of things. that went into them. I mean, maybe they had to, he was like the sacrificial lamb. Maybe they had to.
Yeah.
They had to do something. They were like, hey, we've had all these issues. Well, hey, good news, guys. We're not going to have these issues because we got rid of our PR guy. And so now we can blame 40. Now the responsibility is on 47 to keep us out of trouble. I don't know. But that kind of leads into our next topic. It was a week of lots of people getting banned from Twitch, some permanently, some not so permanently. There were people like Helena Live who claims, the 23-year-old from Greece claimed she was banned on Twitch for saying, quote, "There are only two genders." Our mutual friend Hassan from the Young Turks, he got banned for watching Bowling for Columbine on stream.
Yeah, a clip from Bowling for Columbine.
And there were some other. I'm sure there were lots of people that got banned that didn't make the news. But these are the types of.
Dead Mouse was banned yesterday.
What? Okay.
I did put this in the doc.
What did Dead Mouse do?
Okay, I believe from at least the way that Destiny had his chat with a Twitch employee, I'm allowed to now on this show explain what Dead Mouse did to get banned, and we won't get banned.
Was this even like an issue before?
Oh, okay, wait.
Apparently, it had to be explained to other streamers that if you cover news of someone getting banned, you can like reiterate what they said that they got banned for.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of should be obvious, but
yeah, but as we can see with the ambiguous ban system on Twitch, it's fucking not. So Dead Mouse was playing PUBG, and he called someone a stream sniper fag.
Oh, okay. So hateful language.
Yes, hateful language was why Dead Mouse got banned.
Yikes.
Okay.
And then last but not least, Etika, who is a Smash player and known within the fighting game community as having, the funny video memes whenever the new Nintendo Direct comes out, where he's sitting in the chair going, "Oh my God." For one, he is a black person, and he's from New York. He's a New Yorker here. He said the N-word on stream, and he was banned.
Okay, that's interesting.
So this week we had Hassan get banned for showing an award-winning documentary. We had Helena Live get banned for saying there's only two genders. We had one of the most famous DJs in the world get banned for calling someone a stream sniping fag. And we had a black streamer get banned for saying the N-word. Objectively, two of those things seem worse than the other two, but honestly, they all kind of seem kind of up in the air. I would say Dead Mouse is probably the one that's the most deserving because he was talking shit about people and he didn't have to call them fags. It wasn't really required for him to do that.
Neither do you, Slasher.
I'm quoting him, though. Okay, this is why it's
very
okay.
important to note that each time that you say
each time, I'm just quoting Dead Mouse and what he said to other people. That's probably the one that's the most deserving. Hassan is the one that I think was the least deserving, considering it's like it really is an award-winning documentary that they like show in schools to children for people. And then Helena Live and Etika are probably in the middle. Obviously, saying there's only two genders is going to be like a larger problem with the given current cultural climate in America. I also don't think that's true. I actually, honestly, I have no idea what to say about that. I don't think that's right, but it's kind of not wrong to other people. I actually have no idea. I'm even feeling weird talking about this right now because I don't know what to do.
Okay, so I mean, the bigger issue here is that Twitch is obviously, has been criticized in the past for being inconsistent with the bans that it dishes out to users. And, we talked about this, I think, on a previous episode where Hassan got banned for showing a documentary clip as well, or he was watching something. But the issue here is that Twitch hands out bans to certain streamers seemingly at random, or there's no explanation. And there's also no explanation given to the user themselves as to why exactly they were banned. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Okay, then. So we have Twitch's PR person being fired, and also they're dishing out bans inconsistently. I'm glad and we are probably about to get banned off the Cross Counter Twitch channel ourselves. So it was good seeing you all, everyone. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, I think the issue is that the company is growing at such a rapid pace. There's so many instances of people acting against the terms of service on the site. Therefore, the team, whoever's in charge of actually implementing the bans, I mean, there's probably some judgment calls around each individual instance. Rather than it just, let's say, going to an algorithm, because most of these things aren't things that an algorithm would be able to pick up. So there seems to be, I'd be curious to know how many people are in like the bans department, because that's what makes me think that there's a handful of them because of the inconsistency. But it seems like one way to fix this is to define clearly in the terms of service at least what is and what isn't bannable, and to have this be some sort of constantly updated thing where every quarter there's like, hey guys, based on the recent incidents that have been had during the past quarter, we've made these adjustments to the terms of service. It's just so ambiguous oftentimes, I guess, the things that can and that are okay and not okay. Because then, you'll have streamers that are playing, rhythm games in their underwear, and that somehow, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not the, gootecks is not the content police. I don't really.
No, there are pog champs everywhere. People are pog champing the shit out of people in their underwear. So obviously, you are definitely not.
I'm not. I mean,
not the Twitch cops.
It's tricky though. I mean, where is the line? And this is not something that's an issue specifically to Twitch, right? This is an issue that exists on YouTube, Twitter, and now Patreon, even, where people are getting banned for stuff that doesn't even necessarily occur on the platform. I mean, even, for example, last week when we were talking about the guy who was the guy who got arrested with the child sex ring thing, Twitch banned his account, and nobody was like, hey, why'd you ban that guy? So, obviously,
fair point, Ryan.
I mean, obviously, there's like, there's a lot of gray area, and that could be one of the reasons why they are now using an external PR agency to manage these increasing headaches. Because I swear to God, every week this is coming up, whether we're talking about it here or I'm talking about it elsewhere. It happens all the time where there's these inconsistent bans and the deplatforming, and it's just the constant conversation, and there's no perfect solution. There's just what will develop for this particular community.
Yeah, I mean, like Twitch, platforms like Twitch and YouTube have so many users that it's impossible for them to manually be, looking through the feeds of each person's channel or each content creator's channel and figure out like, oh, they said this, that's inappropriate. We're going to be consistent about this and, ban them. So like, there is no perfect solution, like you said, Ryan, to something like this. I would just think, I would just ask that like a bit more consistency kind of comes into play. I mean, it's just hard, especially with, what Helena said, and the reason why she was banned. It's a very like gray area topic to be discussing, and the fact that she got banned for like that itself is kind of where do you draw the line, right? And how do you maintain consistency when you draw that line?
Yeah, I mean, I do have some sympathy for the moderators of these platforms because even Jack, who is the CEO of Twitter, was doing an interview today with Kara Swisher of Recode, I believe, and she asked him about like how they're addressing like harassment on the platform and trying to deal with people abusing the platform, but everyone sees abuse differently. And we are entering hyper-political, cultural times right now where everything is not okay or everything is okay depending on like who you talk to and what happens. And then you have like groups of people who are brigading, basically reporting others based on what they don't like or what they like, depending on what side they're on, usually conservative or liberal or whatever. And that I think has really affected like the discourse in all of these platforms. So I understand that Twitch definitely has an issue with this. That is now one of the biggest platforms. I do think though they have it on an added problem of Twitch really is, while they do everything, it really is still a gaming platform, and the video game community at large is one of the most, I would say, generally toxic, difficult environment entertainment communities in the entire world. I think it beats out movies, music, books, or comic books, or any of that shit in terms of like how ferocious the community and people can be when they talk to each other about stuff. So now Twitch is dealing with like maybe the most toxic community in the entire world on their platform, and they have to make decisions on like what people were doing. So I understand they are in a difficult position, but because of that, their responsibility is almost larger than other platforms where you can just immediately ban people for saying racial slurs or sexual slurs or hate speech. Now they have to like go down the line. When Helena Live says there are two genders, I actually have no idea how the fuck you deal with that. I honestly have no idea what you're supposed to do. She should probably never be saying that to begin with and never even approaching the subject. That is true. But once it's out there, I can't necessarily say what you said was hateful, but at the same time, I am friends with enough like people in the trans community and the LGBTQ community that I know that they don't find those comments particularly positive. So I can see both sides, but now like Twitch is getting into like very, they're getting into territory where, yeah, Patreon may be making these decisions on other platforms and even Twitter too, but I think it's actually harder for Twitch to make certain decisions than it is for other platforms, given the nature of the community being mainly gamers.
What makes the gamer audience different than, let's say, YouTube and Twitter?
I would say the video game audience is majority white men more than even something like Twitter or YouTube. Twitter or YouTube are larger platforms with a much more wider variety of overall people from all genders, sexes, and races. Video games, of course, have a diverse community, but it is still notoriously a bunch of white guys, especially in the PC communities and esports communities that make up a large portion of Twitch. Now, I don't have anything against white dudes or anything. I just think it's probably less diverse than Twitch is probably less a diverse platform than Twitter, YouTube, just based on the size of those other platforms having more people on them.
So therefore. So what? Therefore, therefore, people shouldn't be able to have like a discussion
No, I think they should, and that Twitch has kind of like a harder. I think it's a little bit easier for Twitch because there's less people on Twitch overall than Twitter or YouTube, but it's harder because the amount of edgelords or whatever in gaming is like more than anything else. So you have like a concentration of all the different types of shit that people be banned for, all on Twitch 24/7, all doing shit that's like on the borderline of whether you could be banned or not. Where on YouTube it's only like some people. And Patreon, I think it really is like a small amount of people, honestly, that are doing that. I mean, I might be totally wrong. Ryan, do you think I'm off base here?
I mean, I don't know what the solution is. My concern is always just like, okay, what, like, is free speech protected? And if it's not protected, then what does that mean for the whole ecosystem? What does that mean for the internet? What does that mean for America? What does it mean for people to express their opinions? And it's difficult. There is no clear-cut answer, and it's really more of a reflection of the current state, the political state that we're in, of hypersensitivity, call-out culture, etc. So I don't know. I mean, it's all fine and good when people, it's all fine and good when somebody that you don't agree with gets shut down, and then it's not so fun when you are the one getting shut down and then you feel like you were wronged. So it's this sort of like it's a fine line.
It is a fine line, yes. And then you also like run the risk of creating like this echo chamber, right? So like, where do you draw the line? Helena Live saying there are only two genders. Like, is it that Twitch essentially said it's not okay for her to say something like that, even if that is just her opinion, and that kind of goes into the whole like your free speech kind of argument. At what point like do you say that it's not okay to say something like that? It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, kind of as we end this conversation, I do think, and I'm a pretty liberal-sided person. I vote Democrat all the time. I've been called an SJW a lot of times in my life. But I have to admit that people who are right-leaning or conservative-leaning or maybe even more to the center are much more under the microscope of things that they are saying. And in terms of potential being banned or potentially getting, kicked off of a B&D platform, it is much more likely for that to happen to people on the conservative right here in America than it is on the left. Admittedly, I can say that, yeah, for sure.
Because there's like left-leaning, liberal-leaning people that are making the decisions in tech companies?
Well, liberal ideas generally are pro-immigration, pro-abortion, pro-choice, pro-trans rights, pro-gay rights, pro-LGBT rights, pro a lot of the things that there are very touchy subjects, whether it's race or gender or culture. Usually liberal or left-leaning people are on the side of like for equality, which I'm definitely for. I am definitely for those things. But when you get into speaking about the minutia of like individual topics, like how many genders there are, that is just like a topic that I don't even want to get into on this show. So I can see someone on the conservative right who doesn't maybe recognize trans rights or doesn't care about that, only saying there's two genders. But I don't necessarily think it is hate speech. Personally, I don't think they're using hate speech. They just might be a religious person and they have their own beliefs and they just don't believe in that shit. I don't think it's hate. I don't agree with what they're saying, but I don't think they should be kicked off the platform for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a difference between having a different opinion and hate speech. I just, you can disagree with somebody all you want, but that doesn't mean that here in America they don't have the right to say it. So it's a fine line, and I think you're right, Zorine. It does create this sort of echo chamber because it's, if certain voices are silenced because of different opinions, whether it's about this, it could be about anything. It could be about unionizing the games industry or something. Oh, we don't like that opinion. Okay, well, you're deplatformed now. It's like, well, that's not. It's just a very scary time, and I think that the more that this happens, the more there's going to be a rise in sort of like alternative platforms that aren't caring about these types of things. And so then, let's say all the people that have been deplatformed now converge on one place, and then let's say they start to gather and gain momentum because they've all been put into one place where it's like this is the only, these types of places will be the only places to really express, opinions, controversial opinions. All right, let's see, where are we at?
Next topic.
Oh god, Apex. Is this really news? Apex Legends.
Over, bro.
Yeah,
in one fucking week, this fucking game.
All right, so from
fucking game.
So from you getting in trouble last week for breaking the story about how this game was coming out.
A recurring theme, isn't it?
One week later, Apex Legends has dethroned Fortnite as the most popular game on the platform.
For pretty much, yeah. It was announced yesterday by Vince Zampella, who is the CEO of Respawn, that the game in 1 week has over 25 million players and over 2 million players concurrently playing the game.
That's insane.
I would say that is a fucking success. And there is a reason that is still the number one game on Twitch after all of the deals that they had in place with streamers that were had to stream the game. Now they're just streaming the game because they like the game. They're not being paid to stream the game by EA directly anymore.
That's crazy. It's so crazy to me that Fortnite is having what happened to them. What they did to PUBG is now being done to them by Apex Legends, and that's so crazy. I do wonder if it's Fortnite fatigue setting in, or just gamer fatigue in general, right? People like having something new to play and feeling it's got the right level of familiarity as well, given that if you're a Fortnite player, you can probably transfer those skills to Apex Legends as well, and it's just fresh and new enough to make it feel like a new and exciting experience, and that it's just exciting and cool. But it, like you said, it's crazy to me that they have all these high-profile streamers who are now streaming the game and clearly having a good time and enjoying it, and are still streaming it right now. The question is, though, is it here to stay? Do you think that Apex has longevity?
Fuck yes. And look, I'll give some expertise because I'm an FPS player, and this is kind of how I've thought about it the last few days. And a lot of factors are why it's here to stay. One, it is innovating BR with an established AAA FPS title already in Titanfall. So they already had the engine and they already had the game, and all they had to do was make the game mode BR instead of creating an entire new fucking game that is BR. They announced and released it at the same time for free. The game is free to play, and its monetizations options are not insulting to the player base. You can get all the stuff for free in the game if you play it enough, or you can buy stuff. You had all the streamers, of course, playing on launch, which included the top streamers in the game. But most importantly, for all of this, the game is good. It's not like Street Fighter V, Ryan, where the release of the game is fucking garbage and it takes them 2 years to fix it, and by that time everyone is upset and they've been yelling on the internet for 2 years at each other how fucked up the game is. On day one of the game, it's a pretty polished game. And there are like problems that people have with like the movements are kind of fucked up and the way they need to they need to fix some bugs. But like overall, it's like really solid. And to a lot of people, that is the most important thing, is that the game on release, on launch, is a solid game. They didn't need to make like a fucking private beta test to show off everyone and have an excuse of like how shitty their fucking game is and then make the public try to fix their game. They had a great game, released it to the public, everyone's like, holy shit, this is fucking cool, and now they're playing it after getting paid. And the other issue is people were playing Fortnite, but there's a reason why the majority of the top streamers on Twitch are first-person shooter players. It is because first-person shooters are historically the most popular game genre in the West, and Twitch, as a Western company, aligns itself directly with the top streamers on the platform. So while MOBA and Dota and League of Legends had the top spot for a lot of years, now BR and Overwatch kind of too has brought back FPS to the forefront of video games. And because of that, now streaming, of course, is going to be along with that. So you have all of the classic top players that are the streamers on the platform, like Shroud, who are traditional FPS players, and now they have like their game for them, and that's why the game is on the top of Twitch. People didn't necessarily love Fortnite. It's just that there was no other game for people to play other than Fortnite or PUBG, so they only had those two choices. Call of Duty actually brought a ton of people in to play Blackout, but that game is still kind of not where it should be. So I think all of these things together are why Apex Legends is 100% going to stay, and it is definitely going to be an esports title. 100%.
Wow, you heard it here first, folks. Ryan, what do you say that you did not look convinced during that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I obviously I'm no FPS expert, and I have played like an hour of Fortnite, so I'm not well versed on the genre. But I mean, everybody is super stoked. The launch was well executed. You know, cross-platform, free, all these things. I mean, it's good. I will be really interested to see if it can reach, let's say, the mainstream zeitgeist that Fortnite has.
That's very true. Very true.
I somehow don't see that happening in the same way, because I think part of why Fortnite not worked so well, but why Fortnite reached mainstream success is because of its appeal to a much younger audience. And then when you combine that with, you know, the marshmallow like in-game performance and like all of the dances that go along with Fortnite, you know, do you see, I mean, these are like important components of like transcending into the mainstream. Do you guys think that Apex Legends will have that same sort of mainstream appeal? And does it even matter if it does?
So two things. I think the name is kind of a little bit forgettable. Like, I feel like Apex Legends is the name itself. Like, I don't know. Like, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's an interesting like title to throw onto your BR game. I think the Legends part kind of is a bit strange to throw in. But like you said, Ryan, like, you know, things like appealing to an audience of kids is a big part of why Fortnite became this huge success. I mean, you have kids doing the Fortnite dances, like in videos, things like that, make it such a huge game, right? And that is what kind of propelled it into mainstream fame. Whereas Apex Legends, based on what I've seen so far, I think it might be a bit too hardcore for a younger audience like that, and it might not appeal to casuals. But at the same time, you know, when you have big profile streamers like Shroud playing the game and Ninja playing the game, and they have their audiences who belong in this demographic, maybe that is enough to push it over into that. Like, who knows, right? So I have yet to play the game myself, full disclosure. So I think once I've sunk a couple of hours into it, I will have a better opinion on whether or not I think it's geared to go mainstream.
Oh man, are we gonna play?
Yeah,
we have to play it.
I actually
No.
play shooters, so I'm pretty confident going
Whoa,
into
whoa.
Oh, damn.
You do? Zorine, you come from Tekken.
Yes.
You can't aim. You cannot fucking aim, Zorine.
No, there is literally
Rod, that is
footage of
hate.
me.
That is hate speech. Rod. You can't
Ben.
say that just because Zorine plays Tekken doesn't mean that she can't play FPSs. We're gonna get banned.
They're not mutually exclusive, all right? Fighting FGC people like shooters too, you know?
It doesn't mean you can actually aim in them.
Ooh.
I'm surprised you figured out how to use a mouse.
Oh my god. Okay, FYI, I came from shooters before I went into fighting games, all right? If that's where you want to go with this, Rod, let's hit up Apex tonight and we will see how it goes.
Wow. Okay.
But that means I have to carry you and almost lose.
No.
I don't know if I'm willing to.
You
I'm willing
already
to
said,
do that.
Rod,
No.
that you play FPS at a high level. It should be
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, it will be. It will be no problem.
To carry Zorine. You should even be able to carry my deadweight
Both
ass
of you.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, easy.
I'm gonna be the guy.
Easy, he says.
We drop on the ground and I just like turn around and start running into the wall and start and blow myself up. I'm that guy that then gets yelled at.
So for Ryan, you are right. Fortnite, because it's a cartoony type of graphic game, it is going to appeal to younger audiences. Apex Legends is a realistic first-person shooter. It's not going to have 12-year-olds playing. It's not going to even have their parents wanting them to play because you're shooting people in the head like you would in a realistic first-person shooter. So that is part of why it probably won't reach the mainstream zeitgeist, as you mentioned, like Fortnite does. But I do think Apex Legends still appeals to gamers, which is a large enough audience where that doesn't necessarily matter. While Fortnite might be playing in terms of like the mainstream and you have like everyone playing Fortnite, there's still enough hardcore gamers and first-person shooter fans that Apex Legends really hits home for a lot of people, that it's still going to be a major force, even if it doesn't enter the mainstream conversation as much as Fortnite would.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the impact is of Ninja playing Fortnite? I mean, is it one of those situations where all of his contacts over at Epic Games are gonna feel? Do you think that they feel betrayed? And will this lead to, let's say, streamer exclusivity deals similar to Pro League of Legends players only being able to stream League of Legends? I mean, are we? Is Ninja and the PR department at Epic, in some sort of backroom deal right now, trying to lock down Ninja to never play Apex again?
Ninja actually won the debut Apex Legends tournament tonight. He literally he's the champion of the first Fortnite tournament, the first PUBG tournament, the first H1Z1 tournament, and now the first Apex Legends tournaments. And Ninja's really fucking good at all of these games. You know what? I actually don't think so. If you're a pro player in esports and you play a game like Overwatch or League of Legends in a franchise league, then they have power over you because you are playing their game. But if you are just a top streamer who plays one game a lot because it's kind of like their home game, I don't think so at all. I actually kind of feel as from after Respawn and EA brought all those streamers out to test their game, that I think that streamers may have more power than even the developers, and that actually they can't do shit to them, and that Ninja has more power than fucking Epic or EA. I mean, there's a good argument to make that really the video games are the ones making the streamers, but I think some streamers have eclipsed such popularity that they could do whatever the fuck they want, and there is no way any developer in the world could tell them what game they can or cannot play.
Right. I'm not saying. I mean, they could tell.
Oh, you mean like give them money? You mean like give them like
in the same way that, I mean, I hate to use the pro wrestling analogy, but it's like when you go back and you look at the Monday Night Wars, and then you have, guys jumping ship between WCW and WWE, and you have, commentators that are, like, for example, you're not going to see Shaquille O'Neal or Charles Barkley on some sort of other. I mean, I guess there's not really like a rival basketball league or anything, but I mean, certainly like exclusivity contracts with talent are a thing, and it could the way that I would approach it is like, even if we never know, and even if Ninja said no, if I'm at Epic Games, I have to be like, wait a minute, we need to keep this guy with us.
But they have to, Ryan. The FTC makes sure, especially after the whole gambling Counter-Strike cases and people not disclosing, like getting paid. Now you have to disclose every time a game developer is paying you to play their game. So if there ever was a deal, then you would have Ninja or Shroud putting #ad on every single stream. And I actually think, unless it's like several millions of dollars a year, I actually don't think it's worth it if you're like a very, very if you're a Ninja or Shroud, you're probably making so much money anyway that the appearance of only being able to play one game and you being like, you having sold out to someone may hurt the brand and the amount of money they make more than the amount of money that they get paid from a certain game developer. It would have to be like, really several million dollars a year, I think, for it to be worth it at this point.
Could be a good investment.
Yeah, I mean, like, just to echo those points, I think streamers like Ninja and Shroud and, the top 5, I guess you could say, have cultivated audiences in a way that their followers are going to watch them no matter what game they play. So being locked into an exclusivity contract, is becoming less of an appeal to them. And it's understandable why. So it's kind of impressive that their audiences would follow them no matter what they play. Like, I don't think, say, for example, Ninja switching to Apex Legends has really damaged his following or his subs in any impactful way. So that being said, streamers do have the power over publishers right now. It's kind of like the status quo. You look like you don't agree, Ryan.
I just think that at any moment there could be some sort of, let's just say one of these big streamers got deplatformed mysteriously for, playing something, I don't know. Who knows? I do think that streamers do have a lot of power, but I also think that we have yet to see a lot of real conflicts between content creators, streamers, and publishers, in a way that I think eventually we will get to, but it's gonna take a while. All right, let's talk about
Zorine's got to pee so fucking bad that we should probably get through this.
All right. No, I know. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, Zorine, do you have a cup?
You doing okay there?
Do you have a cup or a bottle nearby?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
All right, just making sure.
One girl, one cup. It's all good.
God.
That's not hate speech.
We're going to get banned now. Damn it, Rod, not again.
All right. So, big week for events too. Lots of events going on this week. The now 800 employee lighter Activision is going to be launching season 2 of Overwatch League on Thursday, which is Valentine's Day, so that you and your boo can sit and watch some high quality Overwatch League. Everybody knows that Overwatch League is the best aphrodisiac. Oh, I guess you. Sorry.
Where do you even come up with that? Like, no one wrote that in the script, right? We didn't even note that it was Valentine's Day on Thursday. Well done. Anyway, just go on.
Yeah, if you have no love life like me, then yeah, you forget that it's coming up.
Well, that's probably why they decided to launch. You know what I mean? For both.
It's very.
Oh my god.
Right?
Overwatch League, such an aphrodisiac. All you have to do is watch, and your Valentine's Day will be better off. What else?
Anyway.
What else is going on?
Evo Japan.
Yeah, well, the CS:GO major starts tomorrow. The Rainbow Six major tournament started Monday, and then, as Zorine just mentioned, Evo Japan is this weekend.
That's right. So lots of good stuff to watch this week. And stay tuned next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, unless we get canceled. Slasher may or may not have some important leaks that will polarize and trigger the internet. But I guess that about wraps it up for the Untitled Esports Show. Zorine, where do people go for more Zorine?
You can follow me on Twitter at Zorine and on YouTube, Team Zorine, and on Twitch, Team Zorine. Thanks, everyone.
And she's gone.
Can we end the show that way? I don't got anything to say. I got nothing to promote.
All right. Follow the world's #1 esports consultant Slasher on Twitter. Send him all of your news leaks, except for the ones that have to do with him directly. You can send those to me, gootecks, at gootecks on Twitter, at gootecks on Instagram. You can follow here to get notified when we go live again. If you have anything, there's like if you're in the chat room, there's a link that you can click to submit stories. I want to thank everybody for watching. Although I guess I don't know, maybe if there were some interesting points from the chat room, we can bring up some of those things.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Chris of Coins for keeping an eyeball on the chat room here. Chris, actually, I'm gonna hit you up. Actually, I was gonna hit you up today. Anybody got anything interesting to say in the chat room? I'm trying to do a better...
PogChamps in the chat. PogChamps in the chat, so Ryan can't find anything in the chat. Please spam your PogChamps. So Ryan has a tough time scrolling up right now.
Yeah. This hopefully will be the first time that we got
we need more PogChamp spam. I don't know what the spam rules are in the chat, but I need everyone to spam as much as they are allowed to. So it makes Brian's job really difficult right now. Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat.
Coming through in the clutch. Okay, yeah.
More PogChamps. There we go. Thank you, chat. Thank
Blizzard
you, Chad. Ryan, you find anything?
Financially bad. Financially, if you look at it from a bigger picture, therefore the layoffs might be justified. Interesting. Oh, hey,
I'm back.
We heard the whole
feeling
thing.
Good?
Yeah. Oh my god, that was close call. Wait, are we still live?
Oh,
we are still live.
Oh my god, I thought we were done. Jesus Christ.
Sorry. All right, now we're done. We're done for reals now. All right. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Zorine and Slasher, thanks for joining us here tonight. Everybody at home, thanks so much for tuning in. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.
She didn't wash her hands.
We can neither confirm. Oh, that was hardcore. Oh, God. Banned for sure. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.